Hello, and welcome to the Beyond Borders podcast, the podcast that explores topics related to international trade. This podcast is brought to you by Buckland. For over 70 years, Buckland has been working to help companies across the world experience global trade in a better way. As a customer-focused company, we provide you with a single source of unmatched customs brokerage, trade managed solutions, freight forwarding, trade technologies, and warehousing and distribution services. I'm your host, Jenny Kaus, Corporate Marketing Manager here at Buckland, and today I am speaking with our special guest, Sarah Hebert. Sarah is an account manager at Buckland and holds her Certified Customs Specialist designation in Canada and in the United States, and she's also a Certified Trade Compliance Specialist. Sarah has a decade of experience in the industry and has worked with a wide range of importers across industries. Welcome back to the podcast yet again, Sarah.
Thanks for having me again, Jenny. It's always great to be here.
We've had some interesting conversations about a lot of different topics over the course of your visit. And today specifically, we are going to be discussing something that I think is really interesting, and that is acquisitions. Many people will find themselves at the point where their company is either being acquired by another company or perhaps their company is the one doing the acquiring. So during these types of transactions, there's certainly a lot of details to work out and a lot of things to consider. So I thought this might be a good conversation for today.
Absolutely. And it's something that in today's day and age, we're seeing a lot more of it across all different types of industries.
Great. So definitely a timely conversation for sure. And one thing I will mention as well is if you are looking for a printed guide, we do have on our website. So if you go to buckland.com/learning, we do have a learning guide on this topic as well if you're looking for a downloadable resource in print form. So be sure to check that out. And I'll also include a link to it in the show notes as well. So getting back to it, if you're a company that deals with customs, there's going to be some pretty special things to keep in mind when it comes to acquisitions. Of course, there's many, many details in an acquisition, but of course, as Buckland, we are concerned with the customs side of it. So we are going to talk about kind of what to keep in mind for both of these scenarios, whether it's the being acquired or doing the acquiring, as it specifically relates to customs.
Sounds great, Jenny. Let's chat.
Okay, so let's start with some good general advice that we could give for consideration, and maybe even give some ideas of good questions that people could ask as they are experiencing this.
Absolutely. Acquisitions in general can be a very overwhelming experience, whether you're the company being acquired or the company acquiring another company. For the customs portion, it comes down to a few simple questions that you need to ask to make sure you're on the right path. You need to find out, is each company going to be operating independently with their own legal name and business number? Will the acquired company be changing the legal name? Will the acquired company be changing their business number? And will the acquired company become part of the existing company?
Yeah, those are really good questions to ask because I think it would really have an impact on all the documentation. So something to definitely consider. So let's maybe walk through a hypothetical, yet probably common scenario to help explain how this all works and what people need to know. Does that sound good?
Sounds great.
Okay, so here's the hypothetical. My acquired company is changing their legal name and business number. What do I need to do?
So if your acquired company is changing their legal name and business number, you need to consider the following. First, find out if your acquired company will be staying with your existing broker. And if yes, your broker is going to need updated legal documents, including the general agency agreement, power of attorney, in their new legal name and business number. If no, you are changing your customs broker to the same broker as the acquiring company, you will need to determine if your customs clearances will be done under one account as one company or under two separate accounts, one for each location. Two separate legal documents might be required to reflect the different locations. The best place to start is to give the broker a call, advise them of the situation, and determine the broker's specific steps.
Great. That's really good advice. So let's maybe walk through another scenario just to kind of go through some options that could happen or potential situations. So what if my company was acquired by another company? We're not changing our legal name or business number, and we're continuing business independently, which we definitely see this scenario a lot as well. What would you recommend people do in that scenario?
If your company is acquired but is going to remain operating as its own legal entity with the same business number and name, no changes are going to need to be made with your customs broker. From a customs standpoint, it is business as per usual. If later down the road the legal name and business number are changed, you will need to notify your broker at that time for new legal documentation.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I know that, as we've mentioned a couple times here, this is a scenario that we do see come up frequently. So I appreciate you walking through all of that. And certainly, too, if there's anything, please feel free to reach out. And as I mentioned, we do have a learning guide on this subject, and it is available on our website at buckland.com/learning. And as I mentioned, I'll include a link to it in the show notes as well, but it provides a bit of a summary similar to what we've talked about here today. So you're welcome to go and download that and certainly share it with anybody.
Yes, and this is certainly something we've been through with customers many times. The key thing to keep in mind is just to consider legal name and business number. From a custom standpoint, that's what they want to know. So if you are being acquired but you're keeping the same, no changes. If you're being acquired but you're changing, changes. And that goes the same as if you are acquiring a company. So anytime there's a change to that legal name and legal business number, talk to your broker.
Yeah, great thing. And I mean, of course, great communication is always the key to any good relationship, and that certainly counts for your relationship with your broker as well. So, and especially, we see this with our customers as well. The more we are in contact, keeping everybody up to date, everything's going to run very smoothly.
Absolutely. Without communication, what is the relationship?
For sure. All right, that's the Beyond Borders podcast for today. Thank you so much for listening, and thank you very much to our guest, Sarah Hebert.
Thanks for having me, Jenny.
And as I mentioned, if you're looking for more resources related to international trade, check out buckland.com/learning or click on the learning button at the top of the page. Here you're going to find a range of resources, including these downloadable learning guides, the podcast you're listening to, as well as webinars. And we have two different types of webinars. There's live webinars you can sign up for, as well as past webinars that you can watch recordings from. So feel free to check out that section of our website for all of those resources. So in regards to those learning guides, the downloadable ones I talked about, we do have things like Incoterms charts, including the new Incoterms 2020, common trade terminology, how to avoid border delays, and many more. The best way to keep up to date on all of these resources is through our weekly newsletter. So we send out a newsletter every single Wednesday, and it contains all of these resources that I've been mentioning, as well as a roundup of the latest trade news delivered right to your inbox. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to us through our website's Contact Us page, through Twitter, where our handle is @BucklandTweets, on our LinkedIn company page, you can just search for Buckland, or on our Instagram account, and our handle is @BucklandInsta. Thank you for listening to the Beyond Borders podcast, and be sure to tune in again and subscribe for more great conversations about importing, exporting, and everything else in the world of logistics and international trade.